Okay. And it's loading up.
Steve.
No. Give me a Hunting.
Yeah. Okay, and we're live.
We're good? Okay. Welcome, everyone, to the Lincolnville Selectmen's meeting. It is the 11th of October. And before we get going, Josh, would you care to read the quote of the evening, please?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Hope begins in the dark. The stubborn hope that if you just show up and try to do the right thing, the dawn will come. You wait and watch and work. You don't give up. Anne Lamott.
Thank you very much. That's a lovely one. And I'd like to open the podium for any non-agenda items. And seeing nobody rushing in the door or rushing up to the podium, let's move along to the administrator's report.
Just want to let the board and the community know that absentee ballots are available. Those that had submitted requests prior to the town actually receiving the ballots, we mailed all those out, and some have been returned, but don't forget they need to be back by 8 p.m. on Tuesday, November 8th. Tax stabilization for senior citizens program. We continue to receive applications. Applications are due by no later than December 1st. Please get those in so we can process them and let you know whether or not you qualify. We've submitted a permit application to the Army Corps of Engineers for the Townhouse Road Culvert project. That'll be a stream crossing. We're working on a grant application for the DEP stream crossing program that's due no later than early November. It's like the 10th or something like that. We'll keep our fingers crossed that perhaps we can get a grant, because that's going to be a pricey project, but hopefully it'll keep us from losing the road several times a year and provide for fish passage. The Lincolnville Sewer District has reached out to ask if the board would be interested in possibly taking a tour of their facility at some point. I said I would bring it up at the meeting, but they could perhaps give us a couple alternative dates and we'd pick one and go, and they said they would, and they're waiting to hear back from their operator, because the operator actually can say what these things do versus the trustees might not be quite as knowledgeable as the operator. But I see some nodding of heads like there'd be some interest.
Yeah,
so,
that would be great.
I'd love to.
We'll make that happen. We commenced yesterday with the fall grading of our gravel roads. Should be done probably maybe tomorrow, but more likely on Thursday. So that'll be another thing, check mark for the year. The selectmen's emails that have been a long time coming are actually supposedly functioning. The last thing we have is some instruction to provide you all so you know how to access it and whatever else. And I got a draft of that from our IT guy, but I didn't get a chance to read his email on how to do that, so you don't have it as yet. And the last thing is, although I told you quite a while ago, we thought we were all set with last October's storm damage claim with FEMA. They're not completely satisfied as yet, and I don't know is there ever going to be. It's just every level they kick it up, somebody comes back and said, ask a plethora of questions, and I hate to say the program is, my opinion, is set up for, you know, the Bostons and the Portlands and the wherever, and they use the same playbook when it comes to small town America. And, you know, they want a GPS location of every spot you had damage, and they want to know areas and widths and average depths. And, you know, usually when we have a crisis, it's all hands on deck, get these things, you know, back to passable. And so it's, I don't know if we're ever going to get anything from them, to be honest with you.
Oh.
And we thought at one point we had about $30,000 of eligible expenses.
Wow.
So.
Yeah.
We're not alone in this boat. I've heard the horror stories from other communities that have tried in the past and in our region that have been very unsuccessful and advocated with our elected leaders in Washington thus far to obviously not much success.
They've been, and you may not even know this, is that haven't been successful just because of the frustration and walked another path, or just
Walked away. Walked away. It comes a
much.
point where
Yeah. Well, there comes a point,
where's
and I
the-
know you know this, you can only spend so much time on this, really, before, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Before you need an alternative job title of
Yeah. Well,
FEMA
exactly.
liaison.
you know, it's like most of the things that we do. When you're working on this, you're not working on that.
Right.
And that seemed to keep coming and piling up while you're trying to resolve something from a year ago. And I kind of told Bob Luddy from FEMA today that it was unbelievably frustrating that he was reaching out again. And he said, well, I'm going to kick this up to the next level, because it sounded like he might have been headed towards Florida, but so.
Yeah.
So David, have we, excuse me, have you or has the town contacted one of our elected officials in Washington?
I have not as yet. I thought I would start with our elected officials in Lincolnville and just give you a
It does seem,
frustration update.
I mean, just knowing that from moment one, you have fastidiously attempted to check every box. And even with the representatives changing deadlines, you've strove to meet that. And it seems unduly burdensome to have the parameters keep changing.
Well, and I don't know as they change, but, you know, they have different people that look at different things, and the field rep that was here, they actually changed midstream, which never helps. And then you satisfy their checklist and you think you're all set, and they say, yeah, I think we're all set. And then they kick, this half this way and this half that way. And somebody else looks at it and says, well, I need, a picture. Okay, you go out and take a picture. Well, the picture doesn't show the damage because we fixed it, but you can see the patch in the road or the shoulder. It just, I don't know where it's all going to end up. I'm not overly optimistic.
Well,
at the
if,
moment.
before we give up completely, if we need to draft a letter or something to that effect to somebody with more clout.
Well, I won't just make the decision just to give up, but
Yeah,
No,
but $30,000 is
it's,
a big chunk of money.
Yeah, it's real money.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the update.
yep. Sorry, it wasn't like, oh yeah, I got a check in hand.
Sorry for the ongoing frustration also.
I've got another question. I've got
Yeah.
another question for David. David, back to the tax stabilization
Yes.
applications. Do we know how many we've gotten in?
In excess of 130.
Wow.
Yeah, that's great.
And I think there's still, I would be very surprised if we've gotten everybody that's eligible yet.
Think it might reach 200?
It's kind of slowed down recently, but I'm going to make a little push and try to encourage people that, might not yet know about the program to apply.
Yeah.
And if they choose not to, well, they choose not to.
When is the due date again on that?
December 1st.
December 1st.
So they've
okay.
got 5 or 6 weeks to get an application in.
Do we want to have David post on the bulletin board, or have you done that?
I have.
Yeah.
I can do that again. I'm going to try to time a kind of a little bit of a blitz, to get it out.
Like
bulletin
reach out to
board.
Linda Clancy or.
Yeah, just try to get the various avenues, because some people aren't electronically savvy. Some people might want to get it via mail, and I know the ladies out front have been mentioning it to people when they come in to register cars and pay their taxes and things like that. So there was quite a flurry of activity when it first came out. I mean, we had a lot of people call before the applications were even available. They saw it on the news or whatever. But they're still coming in.
That's great.
So, yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
David, did you have anything else for us
Not
under the administrator's
not under
report?
administrator's report. Nope.
And any other questions for David at this moment? Okay, if not, let's move along to upcoming meetings and announcements.
There are 2 meetings that I'll need to announce in addition to what's on the agenda. The first is a cemetery trustees meeting, which will be held on Wednesday, October 12th, 5:30 here at the town office. Planning board meets on Wednesday, October 12th, 7 p.m. Conservation Commission Thursday, October 13th at 4 p.m. Comprehensive Plan Review Committee Wednesday, October 19th, 7 p.m. The Broadband Committee, I believe, is scheduled to meet Thursday, October 20th at 6 p.m. And the Board of Selectmen meet next on Monday, October 24th, 6 p.m.
Thank you very much. Are there any upcoming community events anybody wishes to share?
I guess I'll just say the Waldo County Budget Committee is meeting Saturday, October 22nd at 10 a.m. We reviewed part of the budget a few weeks ago, and this time we'll be hearing from lots of different department heads. So if people want to, I believe it's on YouTube,
Okay.
or if they want to come, it's at the county, forget the building exactly, but it's in Belfast. You can look it up, 10 a.m.
Okay, great, thank you. Let's move along to the meeting minutes. We do have 2 sets. So the first being for the 26th of September.
I move the board approve the September 26, 2022 meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. And then we have the second set from the 6th of October.
Move the board approve the October 6, 2022 meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. And Selectman Ray.
Well, I just wanted to give you all an update on how things are going with the MMA Legislative Policy Committee. And so I included in the packet a summary of our first meeting a couple of weeks ago, and which also includes the results of that survey that went around to everyone. Excuse me. So there were like 72 elected people on that committee, run by an MMA had 5 or 6 people coordinating the discussion, facilitating the discussion. And anyway, if you look on item number 1, those are the policy goals, as it were, that they're going to focus on. The group, the committee, and the survey all came down on the advocacy approach of protecting the core, which is make sure it doesn't get worse, and well, in addition to protect the core, but in addition to have a couple few specific legislative items that may rise to the top. And so anyway, that's what I have for you tonight. This is kind of the first page is their general approach in general areas that so legislation that is in any of these 5 categories, whether affecting funding for municipal programs or affecting home rule authority, things that have to do with affordable, decent housing, broadband, solid waste, and PFAS. And then if you look, then they, in the form of a survey, I thought it was going to come as a spreadsheet, but there you go. They've got this survey thing, which I will be filling out come 14th. And it asks a few specific questions about legislation. That's kind of like the, what specifically, how would you like to specifically deal with some of these areas, as well as some of the additional things that rose to the top. So anyway, I just wanted to see if any of you guys had any input before I type in my responses to the survey. And before it gets back to this group, we meet on the 19th. Oh, I'm sorry, no, we meet on November 9th, the day after the election. Yeah.
Okay.
They timed it the day after the election, yeah. So we have an idea what the landscape may be. And,
So the survey is not for all elected officials, it's just for people on the committee. Is that
correct,
Okay.
correct, yes, that's true. But we're also, encouraged, I think it's more than appropriate to get everybody's input as well. And I didn't know if you guys wanted to go through this, if you had anything that stuck out at you, saying heck yes, or heck no,
This is insanity.
Yeah. And it was, some of the things you'll see that are kind of either nitpicky or they're not out of the blue, but I mean, there were 72 people there from all around the state. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of diversity, a lot of diverse
Yeah.
ideas.
Which is great.
It was very cool, very good, yeah.
What's the board's preference? Do we want to run through the survey really quickly and call out anything?
Yeah,
I like that.
I didn't know if anything, would strike people or.
Sure,
how you
yeah.
wanna do that, yeah.
Mike, do you want to kind of lead the charge?
Well, I could, yeah, but the first thing there's kind of like 5 sections, more or less.
Right.
First section has to do with the property taxes, anything that falls under that rubric, really. And the first thing that they're most concerned is 290, the property tax stabilization bill. Do you think it's worth focusing on that? And if so, turn the page, and you can look at number 3 there, and you can see the ways, the possible focuses or attempts at focusing that were brought up in the survey and at the meeting we had.
Mhm,
Get
mhm.
rid of the thing entirely. So this, link it to the homestead exemption, so it's more streamlined
Mhm.
and targeted just to those people who have homestead exemption for on their taxes right now.
Mhm.
Or just whatever costs for administration, funding, implementation, make sure it doesn't land in our laps,
Mhm.
but have it done by the state. And it's kind of melding into home rule, as it were. Amend the state law to extend greater flexibility to municipalities to design locally funded programs that address the needs of the community. Those are some of the options that were presented. And
I mean, on first read, the second option is appealing to me. For a number of reasons, I'm hesitant to have municipalities sort of, without reading too much into what the intent behind this is if municipalities, can opt out of it or sort of custom, I feel like having a somewhat standardized approach.
more standardized approach
Yeah.
works best.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I like the idea of having it tied to the homestead exemption program so that, it's people who are invested in the community.
Right, yeah, it's targeted.
So
And,
can someone remind me that, so LD 290, it's funded by the state for 10 years? Is that?
well, see, that's the, no, I don't even think it goes for 10 years. They didn't promise 10 years.
I think it's 2.
Yeah.
2 years.
They set aside
That's it.
$3 million?
Oh, wow.
A big pot of money, which they said is going to cover it. But as this points out, I mean, constitutionally, it's in the state constitution, the state is only required to reimburse the towns for 50% of any tax revenue that is lost.
Mhm.
So
Right.
whatever, I mean, so tomorrow, they could say, sorry, we really meant 50%,
Mhm.
and in which case, it comes back on
Right,
towns.
and then
Yeah.
we're having a completely different conversation.
Yeah.
I guess that's the other piece of all of this is not knowing how the program actually shakes out.
Mhm.
It's hard to make future judgments on.
Yeah, and I don't know, but from what I gather, they're not exactly sure how it came to be and what everything's included.
Hmm.
And I think it's kind of a moving target right now.
One more question. Does it have to be your permanent residence to apply for the LD 290?
Yeah, it has to be your homestead property, or at least eligible to have been your homestead property for the last 10 years.
Okay.
You could have had a homestead in Machias and then Dover Foxcroft and then come to Lincolnville, and it's transferable. So if you did 4
Oh, yeah.
years here and 3 years there and 3 years there, it's 10.
Okay. As long as, okay, got it.
But if you've just moved in from, Texas, you have to wait 10 years
Okay.
and be 65 and have that be your permanent residence, and what are the other checkboxes are.
Mike, can you explain what the certain non-governmental tax exempt nonprofit organizations entail?
I'm not exactly sure. That came up, and
Because that's a really
Yeah, no,
ambiguous
it-
category.
yeah, it is, and it came up from somebody, I can't remember the town, and I believe they were talking about land trusts,
Hmm.
and their tax
Mhm,
commitments,
mhm,
I believe.
mhm.
I think
Okay.
that was what was behind that. So I think that's what, I mean, it's right now, it's kind of, it's a non-governmental taxes up nonprofit organization,
Yeah.
which is a big bucket, right? Yeah.
I guess a follow-up to all of, these are all really interesting questions.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering when yourself and the other representatives turn in the results, will there be sort of a debate about
That's the plan. Yeah, come, I don't know, like I said, the 11/9 meeting,
Mhm,
they
okay.
will synthesize, once again, all of these survey results.
Okay.
And then will the 72 of you vote and the majority go to, like, that's how it be, and then they decide?
Oh, yeah, no, it's up to the committee. Yeah, so there'll be a vote. I don't know how they score the votes.
Yeah.
In that committee. It's probably a majority, I guess, I don't know. Yeah, sure is.
It's so interesting. It goes from very micro to very macro.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
All over. And so
Well-
I'll be really interested to,
It's kind of cool. Every time you get 72 people in a room, you're going to have that, but you're also going to have the different demographics speak. I mean, you had, Biddeford, Portland, big city people. And
Mhm.
their interests
Yeah.
were, very different from what, ours might be, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of hungry for the backstory behind some of these questions before
Yeah.
judging the, I guess, value of them.
Oh, sure, and I wish I was able to give you like the backstory, but I can't. But I should probably mention, if anybody's watching, that the 5 areas of property tax and then general assistance, legislation that might change how GA is administered either by towns or how reimbursement takes place from the state. And so they're talking about like maybe increase it from 70 to 90%, the reimbursement rate of money that's spent. The third general area is broadband, and parentheses, cable access, because some people do still do that, have cable franchises, some towns do. And generally where that is, it's looking at, as a policy, the main policy thing says, it's looking at municipalities not matching, not paying up front. If there's a municipally or a private partnership or a municipally owned application that the Maine Connectivity Authority sees, it would not require matching funds from the municipality to receive a grant. That's basically. One of the things that the MMA is saying that they would do if their support amongst the LPC committee.
So I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
That maybe we all go home and fill this out on our own, and then at our next meeting, we can quickly go through it and say, okay, number 14, and we're like, yes, I'm a no, and then we can kind of
Sure, and
Go through that.
That is very good. That's very cool, except, I mean, I got to send this thing out in 3 days.
Oh,
Yeah.
in 3 days?
right,
Yeah.
that's what you, yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
Thursday, you said.
but, but that doesn't mean, when I'm there on the 9th,
Yeah.
that I don't say, oh, whatever I say isn't moderated by what we
Sure.
all think, so, you know.
Sure.
Another idea is we could all individually email Mike, if you feel like taking on a little project.
I don't mind taking that project on. It's if anybody's willing to do that, I could definitely. Or, because I just don't feel real comfortable about unilaterally just,
Yeah, well, I
yeah.
very much appreciate your truly being a liaison for the board in this aspect.
Just trying to move Lakeville up in terms of leverage, so we have more weight.
Small
when
but
the
mighty.
When the Lakeville delegation goes to the State House.
Walk softly and carry a big stick, right?
Right, yeah.
Kern, what are your thoughts on that? Are you happy
And I
to?
think I'd like to be involved in a more in-depth conversation before I would even consider answering these questions.
Yeah, no, I.
Really, because I don't,
understand.
number one, I think it would be a disadvantage for pretty much everybody involved to answer questions on something they're not fully educated on.
Oh, yeah, no,
And,
yeah.
you know what I mean? And,
Yeah, and my guess is with the Legislative Policy Committee, there's a lot of us, I don't know if any of us will ever be fully educated,
yeah.
you know, in any of this
But
stuff.
some of these questions, to your question there, Wade, some of these questions, I would have no idea how to answer them.
Yeah.
Because I would have to do some research
Yeah.
first. And and at first sight,
Yeah,
my, maybe my opinion is gonna be totally different than yours and yours, because you know more about it than I do.
or less,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, no, I know, and,
Well, is there a place where we can go to get the reasoning behind the presence of
nice.
this
sure, yeah,
question?
yeah, I could, the best thing to do, I would think, would be simply to call or email, however you want to, contact one of the people at MMA, Kate DeFore or Ellis, not Kate DeFore, I guess, or Neil, somebody. Those are the two people, maybe there's a third person. And just speak on the phone with them, and maybe have that in front of you. Say, what's up with this
Yeah,
question, you know, and they might talk your ear off or not, I don't know.
yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
and,
It would be nice if there was each one had a long paragraph describing
would,
yeah.
why this is here.
Right, the city of Portland
It would.
has put this question forth as a priority because of these
Right,
circumstances, or,
yeah.
yeah, that would be great. Otherwise, yeah, I sort of feel like we're bringing our unique perspective to questions that we don't. Yeah, I feel like it's like taking a test that I haven't studied for.
no, I understand.
Exactly.
And, no, I don't think that every board member in the state is expected to know all the pluses and minuses of cannabis revenue sharing, for
Right.
example.
Right,
Like, or solar arrays, where going from 4.99 to 5.01, what difference is that gonna make?
right, right.
I mean, I've got opinions on like broadband and cable access because I know something about that, but then there's
Tree growth. Like,
tree
I
growth,
just
right?
don't-
Or
I just don't know the state of
Yeah,
tree
and
growth.
or the
Right.
public safety question. I know nothing about those, and why are those even on here?
tree growth is I found out, is a burning issue up north, where, you know, where logging is
Right.
Mhm.
essential.
Right.
Mhm. And I'm sure in bigger cities, the police training issue
Oh, it's huge,
Yeah.
yeah.
is
Yeah.
is massively
moot here,
relevant.
but-
Yeah,
Lewiston wants to know how they're gonna be reimbursed for training,
right,
and
right.
what do we get, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, however much feedback you get before you have to hit the click go
Yeah.
button on Thursday, very grateful for you keeping us in the loop in terms of what's happening out there.
Well, I'll let you know, well, at least you know, like on that first page, the general areas where the MMA has decided that, based on the survey and what they heard from the 70-some people, what areas that they're gonna focus on.
Mhm.
But specific in the weeds legislation, like, is reflected in this stuff.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know.
But these are all worthwhile to tackle, certainly.
Well, we may not have to deal with PFAS remediation ever in Lincolnville, I don't know, but some towns do.
Mhm.
Some towns are having to pay for the study and the cleanup and everything else.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And they're worried about, they're mandated to do that, but they're worried about how's that gonna be paid for.
Mhm.
Type of thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah, if you guys want to send me an email, I can, before I hit the send button. And this is not, whatever, I say, or 71 other people say, it's not set in stone until the committee decides.
You'll be forever known for this decision, Mike. In time.
Your name
memoriam.
will be assigned to it.
Oh, geez.
Carved in
Oh,
stone.
geez, yeah.
Any other questions for Selectman Ray on this?
I have a general LPC question I'd like to ask. Has either the LPC or MMA scheduled or planning to schedule or trying to schedule an interview with the 3 candidates for a governor? Oftentimes MMA does
That'd
that.
be clever, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Not that I know,
All right.
I haven't heard that, and I don't.
It may not be the LPC that does it, I can't remember, but
Yeah.
at times in the past.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't think it'd be the LPC.
Yeah,
I think, no, I think they have the legislature, the LPC, which has been going since 1972 or something like that. I mean,
Wow.
it's been around for a while, right?
Wow.
maybe their executive committee or board.
Yeah, I think it's
does
something,
that.
I think the LPC just kind of takes whatever political landscape they find and work with.
Interesting. All right. Prior to acting on our next agenda item, we need a first motion.
I move that we suspend our meeting as the select board and that we convene as the Board of Assessors.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? All righty. And we have 3 points of action as the Board of Assessors. And the first is an abatement.
I move that to correct an error in the record, that the board grant abatement number 2022-04 to Suzanne Thomas in a tax amount of $563.63.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Thank you all very much. And we have a second abatement to correct an error.
I move that to correct an error in the record that the board grant abatement number 2022-05 to Allison Bixler in the tax amount of $29.83.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? And finally, we have a supplemental tax warrant regarding removal of a homestead exemption.
I move the board approve and sign the supplemental tax warrant for John and Christine Bernstein, co-trustees in the tax amount of $349.33 with a due date of November 10th, 2022, and interest to begin on December 10th, 2022 on any unpaid tax.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. And to go about our business, we need a final motion.
I move that we adjourn our meeting as Board of Assessors and reconvene as the Board of Selectmen.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. And back to our regularly scheduled program. Josh, do you have a broadband update for us?
I do. So the broadband committee met for the first time since July. Back in, we met October 6th. We met with Susan Corbett and we had our kickoff meeting, which was very exciting to start that process. We're meeting in 2 weeks, and by then she'll have census data about Lincolnville residents, and so we'll be working through that and starting to formulate the digital equity plan. And then we discuss MCA grants, what's currently out there, and the Reach Me line extension seemed to make the most sense for our town. So we just talked about the possibilities for that.
Great.
Perfect.
Any questions for Josh?
Yeah,
No.
I do have a question, and I can't remember there's a deadline when the committee expires. I don't know when that is. It's coming up though.
It was extended
Oh,
with the
for the-
digital equity
yeah.
Okay, good. Well, then,
charge. Yeah.
well,
So we have a
okay, never
little.
mind.
Okay.
Karen, did you have anything for Josh? Okay. Thank you.
Nothing for you.
And selectmen updates. Karen, do you have an update?
Yeah, nothing. I really got nothing. Had a birthday this last week, but that's not relevant.
Oh, but important though. Important.
I knew the sun shone a little bit brighter that day.
Oh, wow.
Josh, do you have an update for us?
I don't.
Okay. Mike, do you have an update for us?
I can't top a birthday, so no, I don't have anything.
Yeah, same. Also, put my pants on and the shoes on the right feet this morning, so doing well. Doing well. Okay, so we have the treasurer and payroll warrants to approve and sign.
Oh.
I move that the board approve and sign the treasurer's and payroll warrants.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And if there is no more business that the board wishes to attend to tonight, we will entertain a final motion.
I move that we adjourn.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. Not the quickest meeting,
All right.
but
I may hold the record for that.